In this video, we will complete step 39, string-only methods. So the last step completed the data frame class. There are no more methods to be implemented in the data frame class after this add docs method. We are actually going to be looking at an entire new class called string methods. And what this class will help us do is to process columns of data in our data frame that are strings. So we will be able to manipulate strings in our data frame with an entirely new class. So let's just take a quick look through this string methods class, because this is we're going to be dealing only with this within this class for this step. So if you look inside here, you'll see the names of a lot of methods, and these all will do some sort of string manipulation or string calculation. So there's capitalize, count, ends with, starts with, and so forth. There's many string methods that are going to be available to string columns in our data frame. So how does this even become a part of our data frame, and how is it accessed? Well, this happens during data frame construction. So within the Dundry init method of the data frame method, or the data frame class, you will see this. So let's go ahead and scroll up till we come back into the data frame constructor. So here's the data frame constructor, and you'll see this line right here. So what we're doing here is we're assigning to this str attribute a new instance of the string methods class. So we're creating a new instance. We're calling the constructor of the string methods class right here, and we're actually passing itself as a parameter to that constructor. Okay, so this is exactly where the string methods class comes in, and we create an instance of it and assign it to this str attribute. So let's go take a look at the string methods constructor and see what this self is doing. So this is just the current data frame. That's what self is at this right here. Let's scroll back down to the string methods class and go inside the constructor. So during that line, this will get executed, and the self from above is a data frame. It will get passed to this df variable, and it will get assigned to this underscore df instance variable for the for the current instance. So there's only one thing that happens during construction of the string methods class, and that is to have a reference to the data frame. So we can sort of go back one level by having a reference to the data frame that holds an instance of the string methods class. So this will make more sense when we go ahead and look at a data frame. And let's go ahead and do this in the Jupyter Notebook. So if we have a df, which is just some data frame, and we look at str. So str is just currently an attribute right now, and as you can see here, it's pointing to a single instance of the string methods class. And you can still so now you can call methods on this particular object, and if you press tab, you'll see that all of the public methods become available, and you cannot call them yet. We have to implement one single method within string methods for these to work. So these are not working at the current state, but they are available, just not working. So let's go ahead and make them work. Let's flip back over to VS Code and take a look at all of the methods here, and they're all going to look very similar. So notice that almost all of these are going to be a single line of code within here, and they're going to call this underlying str method. So this str method is sort of the generic string method that will handle all of the other methods. So you'll notice that the first parameter, or the first argument to this method, is going to be the Python method name for the Python string method name. So we're actually going to use the underlying, this is Python right here. This is the Python string capitalized method, for instance. And the second argument will always be the column name that we want to use this particular method on. So all of these are going to look the same. So center, the first parameter, the first argument is simply the Python string method name. The second parameter is always the column name of the data frame. Now you'll notice that several of these methods have extra arguments. So these are all the same exact arguments that come along with these Python string methods. So I've simply copied and pasted them from Python into this code, and we're just going to pass them along. So we're going to allow our user to use the exact same methods that Python allows its users to use on strings. But regardless, the first two arguments are always going to be the method name and then the column name for every single one of these. So it's going to call, so basically this will always be the same for all of the methods. We're just going to pass in the method name and the column name. Okay. So here we go. Let's just go down here to this string method. So this is what we're going to implement. And this is the only thing that we need to do. And if we implement this one correctly, then the other ones will all work. So if we look at the signature here, the first thing is, yes, the method that we're getting, that we want to apply. The second is the column name. Okay, but then the third is this strange thing called args with a star in front. So we talked a little about this in a previous step. So anything that has two stars is going to capture any arguments as a keyword arguments. Anything with one star is going to capture any extra arguments as a tuple. So we're going to collect any extra arguments, like for instance here, these last three arguments will be collected in this star args, and we will simply pass this along to Python and say, here, just take these and use them to execute the method with. Okay, so we'll see that in just a little bit. So what we're going to do is, number one, is that we need to get the underlying NumPy array for the column. So the data is now in this underscore df. So we have to go like one level back because self is the is the current instance of string methods. Underscore df is the data frame, and then underscore data is the dictionary where it's held. So we're going to go ahead and get that data. So let's go ahead and get that array. And this says raise a type error if it does not have kind O. So we're only going to allow our users to call this if indeed we have an object data type. So if value.dtype.kind, so if the kind is not uppercase O, which stands for object, then we're going to raise a type error. Just say the str accessor only works with strings. Okay, good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to iterate over each value in the array. So we're just going to go one by one down each value of this array. So we're going to just go for val in value. So we can iterate through a NumPy array simply like this. And we're going to now call. We're going to pass in the string. So val is now a single string. So value is a array of strings. So val is a single string. We're going to pass it in here to the actual method. And we're going to give it any extra arguments that we have collected over here. So this is going to be the result. So what I suggest doing is creating an array. So we can say like new values, or you can just use a list. and say new vals dot append this result. So it will append this result right here. Okay, so that's basically it. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to return a one-column data frame. So let's return a one-column data frame. So we're going to return a data frame, and we'll just go ahead and use the original column name, and we'll have to convert this into a NumPy array, and we'll put in new vals as a list. So that should work. It's actually, it's quite simple. It's just a small amount of code here. So let's go test this out real quick on some actual data. So here's, we need to get a string column. So let's say we want to uppercase some string column. So the first thing we need to do is, if I press Shift Tab Tab, well, I don't actually have the documentation here, so that's something we could probably work on. But we're just going to give the name of the column here, and that should uppercase it. So that looks good. So it looks like that is working. Now, one thing you might want to do is, be aware of missing values. So, so if someone has a none, if val is none, for instance, then we'll just we can just append none. So we won't actually touch the data. We won't do anything if there's a none. So the string methods will just throw an error if there's a none in there. So we can just make an exception for that. So if one of the values is none, so if you have a missing value in your string column, we just won't do anything. We'll just append none and move on to the next value. But this is the main thing. This is what actually does the transformation for us, and we'll do the string manipulation. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the crux of it. You're simply iterating through a single column, and you're applying a string method to it, and you're passing along any extra arguments. So for instance, let's see one with any extra arguments. We'll say df.str.count. So count has several parameters here, and we'll just use one of them. We'll say count the number of i's in each one, and this will return, there's one I in each name over here. So maybe we can make it more interesting and, I don't know, use state. California has 2 i's, Texas has none. A is one letter that's in common to both. Okay, so that basically does it for string columns. So now we have quite a bit of firepower to deal with strings, and that's thanks to Python, which we're relying on. In this case, we're not relying on NumPy. We're relying on just core Python to do all of our string manipulation for us, and core Python has excellent string capabilities just naturally built into the language. Okay, so that does it. Oh, we have not actually tested, so we will need to do this. So let's run PyTest, and we're going to test the entire class test strings, and hopefully this passes. So there's actually 25 tests that were just run, so probably one for each method, and they each passed. So that's good. All right, so that does it for step number 39.